Today, we're heading east, to a region rewriting its destiny through oil, data, and digital currency. For decades, the Middle East was defined by energy, barrels of crude, endless pipelines, and petrodollars flowing through the arteries of world trade. But as the planet shifts toward renewables and digitization, that equation is changing fast. And while the West argues over regulation and Asia experiments with pilot programs, the Middle East is quietly building. From the United Arab Emirates to Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and Bahrain, governments are racing to turn their economies into digital finance powerhouses. Not through speculation, but by integrating blockchain directly into national infrastructure. This isn't a fad, it's an evolution, rooted in history, ambition, and survival. So today, we're diving into why the Middle East is going all in on crypto, how it's building the next global financial hub, and why this decade could belong not to Silicon Valley or Shanghai, but to Dubai. Before we start, follow the show and leave a 5-star rating. It helps new listeners find us, keeps us independent, and lets me keep digging into the stories most podcasts won't touch. All right, let's get into it. To understand the region's crypto obsession, we need to step back, not 5 years, but 50. In the 1970s, the oil boom turned Gulf kingdoms into economic empires. The petrodollar system, where oil was priced and traded in US dollars, became the foundation of global finance. That decision tied Gulf prosperity to the dollar's strength and the West's banking systems. But that foundation is eroding. Oil demand is plateauing, the global energy mix is changing, and for the first time, the Gulf's wealthiest nations are preparing for a post-oil world. They know what happens when dependence meets disruption, and this time, they're designing the escape hatch. Blockchain and crypto are not rebellion for them. They're insurance. Insurance against the decline of oil. Insurance against reliance on Western payment rails. Insurance against being left out of the next financial revolution. The United Arab Emirates is leading that transformation. The UAE is building a digital finance ecosystem that fuses ambition with execution. Dubai's Virtual Assets Regulatory Authority, VARA, launched back in 2022, making the city one of the first jurisdictions on Earth with a dedicated crypto regulator. The Central Bank of the UAE is now piloting the Digital Dirham, part of Project mBridge, a cross-border CBDC platform led by the Bank for International Settlements. The UAE isn't testing ideas, it's deploying them. Dubai's crypto economy now includes hundreds of active Web3 companies, from exchanges to infrastructure providers. Some estimates count more than 1,000 if you include gaming, DeFi, and blockchain service firms. Binance's regional base is here, Bybit operates its hub here, and Abu Dhabi hosts institutional players inside the ADGM, the Abu Dhabi Global Market, which runs a DLT-friendly licensing regime for virtual asset businesses. Even real estate, the city's economic heartbeat, has gone digital. Property developers now accept stablecoins for apartment purchases, and tokenization pilots are testing fractional ownership of luxury towers on regulated platforms. Entire property funds aren't fully on-chain yet, but the groundwork is set. Dubai's government offices are pushing blockchain integration for identity, supply chain, and logistics. Its courts use digital ledgers for notarization. You can feel it. The region isn't just adopting crypto, it's normalizing it. That's why investors and builders are flocking there. It's the closest thing to a functional crypto capital. Saudi Arabia, often cautious in reform, is now positioning itself as a heavyweight in digital finance. Under Vision 2030, Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman's long-term modernization plan, Riyadh is diversifying away from oil, and blockchain quietly sits inside that strategy. The Saudi Central Bank worked with the UAE on Project Aber, an early wholesale CBDC experiment between the two nations. It has since expanded research into domestic digital settlements for interbank use. The Public Investment Fund, Saudi's sovereign wealth powerhouse managing roughly $700 billion, is investing across fintech, AI, and blockchain infrastructure. They're not buying meme coins, they're backing rails and data centers, the unglamorous foundations that make the next economy work. And when Saudi Arabia moves, it moves at scale. In the West, a $100 million pilot is a headline. In Riyadh, that's the cost of breakfast. Their ambitions manifest physically. Look at NEOM, the futuristic city rising on the Red Sea. It's envisioned as a hub for advanced AI, smart infrastructure, and digital governance. Officials have discussed integrating blockchain into city services, but the idea of a fully tokenized economy remains conceptual, not confirmed. Still, NEOM embodies the region's philosophy: skip legacy systems and build the future from scratch. And that's the pattern. The Middle East isn't trying to repair old engines, it's designing new ones. Elsewhere, smaller nations are carving their niches. Bahrain was the first in the Gulf to license crypto exchanges under its central bank, turning the island into a sandbox for financial innovation. Qatar, with one of the world's largest sovereign funds, has backed blockchain infrastructure and fintech startups quietly, emphasizing compliance and institutional-grade design. Together, the Gulf Cooperation Council is forming a regional network of interoperable, crypto-aware economies, each specializing in a different layer of the digital asset stack. It's not competition, it's orchestration. This is about more than diversification. It's about monetary independence. For decades, the region's wealth flowed through the dollar. Every oil sale created demand for USD, strengthening America's financial reach and embedding its banks deep in global energy trade. But dependence breeds vulnerability. When your exports are priced in someone else's currency, your fate is tied to their policies. Sanctions, swift access, interest rate shocks, all became geopolitical weapons. Blockchain offers a way out. For the first time, Gulf economies can envision settlement systems that aren't tied to Western intermediaries. They can move value on neutral digital rails and potentially price commodities in multiple currencies, or even digital tokens. Saudi officials have signaled openness to settling oil sales in yuan or other non-dollar currencies, and China has already completed yuan-settled LNG trades with partners such as Total Energies. That's not yet a wholesale petrodollar replacement, but it's a crack in the wall. The UAE, meanwhile, used Project mBridge this year to complete real-value cross-border CBDC transactions with China, Hong Kong, and Thailand. A live demonstration of multi-currency digital settlement working in real time. The message is clear. The Middle East wants optionality, not dependency. And optionality is power. As money, assets, and identity move on-chain, control becomes the new currency. That's why today's episode is brought to you by Ledger, the world's most trusted hardware wallet. If you want real ownership, not exchange promises, not digital IOUs, you need custody in your own hands. In a world moving from oil to data, that's your security blanket. Secure your crypto before the next reset begins. Beyond independence, this transformation grants the Gulf three new kinds of leverage: financial, technological, and geopolitical. Financially, tokenization opens doors to diversify wealth creation. Digital asset exchanges, tokenized bond platforms, and blockchain-based treasuries let capital move faster and reduce dependence on Western clearinghouses. Technologically, heavy investment in blockchain and AI attracts global talent. Dubai and Abu Dhabi are emerging as the Singapore and Zurich of the digital asset era, tax-efficient, stable, and wired for innovation. Geopolitically, the more digital infrastructure they own, the less foreign leverage exists. Payment networks become national assets. Blockchain becomes the new Suez Canal, not of ships, but of value. These shifts are visible in capital flow. Over the past 2 years, Gulf sovereign funds have become some of the biggest limited partners in Web3 and AI ventures. They've funded tokenization startups in Europe, blockchain gaming in Asia, and digital identity systems at home. Major exchanges, Binance, OKX, and Coinbase, now hold Gulf licenses. Ripple runs cross-border payment corridors with local banks. Tech giants like Amazon, Microsoft, and Google are building regional data centers designed for blockchain workloads. Crypto isn't fringe anymore. It's infrastructure. And the mindset here is simple. This isn't rebellion against finance. It's an upgrade to finance. There's also a cultural dimension the West often misses. Money in Islamic finance has always been anchored to real value and ethical use, concepts perfectly compatible with transparent, auditable blockchain systems. That's why Islamic DeFi and Sharia-compliant tokenization are taking shape. Scholars and fintech engineers are codifying centuries-old financial ethics into smart contract rules. It's an emerging niche that could make crypto adoption more legitimate across the Muslim world, fusing moral trust with digital efficiency. When you add that to Gulf innovation, you get a narrative no one else can replicate. Prosperity built on both technology and principle. But the most fascinating part of this story is how quietly it's happening. Western headlines still obsess over price swings. Meanwhile, Gulf regulators are rewriting the plumbing of global finance. The Gulf Cooperation Council has already run multi-nation trials for instant digital settlements and is discussing interoperability for CBDCs. That's not hype. That's state-level adoption. And once digital trade corridors connect the Gulf to Asia and Africa, the region effectively becomes the crossroads of programmable money. The same role it once played for physical trade along the Silk Road. For investors and builders, that has massive implications. The next bull cycle may not be driven by Reddit or Wall Street FOMO. It could be driven by sovereign integration, tokenized commodities, digital asset regulation, and state-backed blockchain infrastructure. When that happens, liquidity won't just flow into coins, it'll flow into rails. So, when people ask where the next crypto superpower will rise, the answer is already forming. It's Dubai, it's Riyadh, it's Abu Dhabi. These cities are writing the code that will define tomorrow's capital markets. And unlike New York or London, they're not patching legacy systems. They're starting fresh. Looking ahead, the roadmap is clear. In the short term, expect Gulf states to dominate tokenized commodities, oil, gas, and metals, priced or settled on digital rails. In the medium term, expect national digital currencies integrated with AI-driven governance and borderless payment networks. And in the long term, expect a phrase you'll start hearing more often: petrocrypto. Because the same way oil shaped the 20th century, programmable energy and digital assets will shape the 21st. The Middle East understands something timeless. History rewards early builders. A century ago, oil was useless until someone refined it. Today, data is meaningless until someone monetizes it. And that's what's happening, right now, in the heart of the desert. The region is transforming its oil wealth into data wealth, its refineries into data centers, and its currency of the past into tokens of the future. This isn't speculation, it's strategy, and it's working. So when you hear about the crypto hubs of tomorrow, don't just think of exchanges or ETFs. Think of sovereigns, city-states, and mega projects. Because the real revolution in crypto isn't retail, it's national, and the Middle East is leading it. Drop your thoughts in the comments, follow the podcast, leave that 5-star rating. And as always, we will see you at the top.